Hello everyone and welcome to a minor update on the next major build of my display layout. After the success of the Plymouth Brick Festival and as my 3800 is nearing completion, I've made a start on my next big project. In this build I'll be adding a new embankment and tunnel to the side of my layout, giving a scene break to the display. The retaining walls will be attached using hinges, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to work out in the real world. I've got some concerns that they might be a bit flappy, and so I might need to pin them back with some bricks elsewhere. On the end, which will face the public, I'm planning to add a cutout showing a mini Minecraft scene, which I'll light with some LEDs from above. I might even try and put some into some lava that's flowing. I've actually been quite desperate to have a canal somewhere in my display for a long time, so I've decided to add one to the top of the embankment. You can see in the renders where I've got the towpath going along the side. I can't decide whether I'll have people walking along it or whether I should have a horse which is drawing a boat along. In the core, most of the tunnel is made up by random 2x bricks with some arches to tie them together at the top. Although in the final build, I'll try and tie in the brick more at the bottom as well, as I'm not using Mills plates. While at the View Bricktacular, I was able to get a few bags of bulk Lego from DB Bricks. This was an assortment that has allowed me to make a good start on the build. And here we are, current day, and this is the progress that I've managed to make thus far. So as mentioned earlier, a lot of that core section is 2x bricks and these arches to help give the support that I'm going to need for everything that's going to go on top, so the canal bed that goes across. And because I'm not using mills, I've added in these bricks along the sides here just to strengthen the base of the base plates a little bit more. Also, in my original kind of workings out in studio, all of these were just 2x2 bricks in little stacks, and I was kind of imagining that when it comes to putting the main plate on top of these, trying to get those to connect and not fall over is just going to be a nightmare. So I've beefed these up to kind of help with any shear forces kind of going on, which means I'm not going to have to rebuild this every time I transport it. I've mainly done all of this structure from the bricks that I got from DB Bricks at Bude Brick Festival, but I've since run out. I have made a couple of different orders since then, so a lot of the 2x4 bricks in this kind of start to the main tunnel section itself. I spent my £50 voucher that I got from doing the Plymouth Brick Festival to get 260 odd bricks to be able to start that. Still need probably about another 100 or so, maybe a few more than that, to be able to complete this. I've got some on the way from a Bricklink order, but one of the issues that I'm finding at the moment is that looking at Bricklink sellers who have thousands of these bricks available, they're charging in some cases more than what it costs to buy them from lego.com. So I think it might be cheaper for me to actually buy these from lego.com and accumulate some points than it would to actually buy them from Bricklink sellers. I don't really know why there's that discrepancy there. I mean, one seller who had a couple of thousand of them was selling them for 22 pence each, whereas on Bricklink they're on lego.com they're 19 pence each. So it's a bit of miffing to know what's going on there, but hopefully I'll be able to get this kind of built up reasonably quickly. I've got a lot more filler bricks as well arriving to. There's got to be like another 2 layers of bricks on here, so they'll be used for doing that. I need a couple more brackets as well. The order that I've got coming is actually going to give me some long inverted slopes, which will create the first part of the tunnel entrance, and then this section here will be able to sit on top of that, so I can see whether that actually goes together and if that works nicely or not. And that will be a huge start on actually getting the face of the tunnel sorted. I think as well that I had some of the 1x bricks that I'm using to do the giant retaining wall wedge. I do have several of the slopes as well, so you kind of get an idea of how that's going to look going across down there, and it will come down to, I think it's about here, so it's a fair old whack. and I've got to decide whether I want to leave those plain, or and maybe add a bit of minifig graffiti or something kind of going on. It might be quite fun to have a scene of some reprobate putting a bit of graffiti onto the side of the tunnel entrance. So I'm going to have a little think on that as to what I want to do. I'm not a big fan of real life graffiti, so I don't know if I want to represent it in this or not, but I know it is something that happens, so we shall see what I decide. On this opposite side over here, you can see I've got all of the plates that I need for the towpath are just kind of stacked over here at the moment, and there's a great lack of anything happening. This side is going to be a bit more tricky to do. I think this is going to be a bit more sculpted rather than plan it out in studio kind of thing, as most of this wall is that end side that's going to be seen by the public. So I need to create that kind of box inside here using probably dark bluish grey bricks to add the Minecraft scene in the side, and then I'll need to add the lights in the top, etc. So I've got to figure that needs a little bit more figuring out. And again, the bricks are so silly expensive from Bricklink sellers, where they cost more than what Lego is charging for them. And buying them from Lego is expensive in the first place if you're buying them online, so it makes life a little bit difficult. So I need to keep my eyes out for some decently priced bricks. Otherwise, after the Exeter show, which is in a week's time at the moment, after the Exeter show, I should get another £50 voucher for displaying, and then I can use that to purchase a bunch more bricks, and I might just chuck in a bit of extra cash against that as well, just to buy more on top of that. So hopefully at that point I'll get enough of the light bluish grey to finish this entire section and have all of the arches in place for that as well. And then here I should be able to make a start at least on the dark bluish grey, and figuring out how much of it is going to be part of the scene, etc., how big it needs to be. I was thinking about seeing there's a small Minecraft set, usually get like little poly bags and stuff like that. If there's something I could buy like that to incorporate into that. If not, my son's quite keen on taking some of his Minecraft stuff and sticking it in there as well. But no doubt he's going to be guiding me on that, as to what we're going to be putting in there. Lava chickens and all that. And then the only other thing I was considering when I was starting to put this together, so I've put these green tiles, which I didn't initially plan on doing, but because I'm not using mills, because that would make this project even more expensive, I've just clipped together the base plates using these little patches, and I'm going to put some shrubs and greenery on there to make it look like it's an overgrowth in the land. But that just helps keep the plates together for when it's being transported. My current plan is to have a piece of ply that's going to slide underneath to pick it up to transport it, and then it'll go into its own custom box off put together from scrap wood, and then that should make it easier to move around. I'm probably going to make that box and that plate large enough to be able to accommodate another half section on the back, because I want to maybe extend it a little bit deeper in the future. So I'll have to consider kind of future developments as well when I make that. The other part is that these are obviously the three main lines, and if you remember from my Plymouth Brick Festival video, we had a tunnel entrance, which was for the corner tunnel. That one is not going to be next to my display at the next Plymouth Brick Festival, hoping, touch wood, that this will be finished for the September show. So this is going to sit where that tunnel section was, and that tunnel with the cliffside and the windmill is going to move to the opposite side of the display, just so we can balance it out a little bit. So yeah, those are going to be our three main lines. I normally have my yard is around here, and that made me think that I might actually have room to put a second, or like a half straight in here to extend my my yard space just by that little half straight. It's not a huge difference, but I think any kind of extension that I can put into the yard will be exceedingly beneficial to the yard itself, even to the point where I've got the quarter We've got them up here. No, they're not up there. So I've got a bunch of quarter straights, which came from Tricks Bricks. They were included as a free gift thing when I did an order with a bunch of different turnouts, etc. And so I could do a few quarters on here just to extend that one a little bit. And again, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a huge difference to the operation, but it adds a bit of staggering in the size of the line. So the lines have been made to the size of the environment, which I think will look pretty good. But also just that little bit of extra overhead can sometimes be the difference of fitting a wagon and not fitting a wagon. So that'd be great to be able to include that. It could also mean that around this area, maybe rather than the whole graffiti artist idea, it could be that this is more piles of waste related to the yard, etc. So maybe I could stack a few wheels or some crates, broken equipment, stuff like that. So gives a lot of kind of freedom to kind of think of some ideas to play around with for that as well. One of the big things that I do need to undertake as well is once I've got all these layers built up, is getting that top onto it. And my current plan is I'm going to have these 1x16s. They're going to be going across here, and I've got to buy a bunch more of these in order to complete, but they'll be going across all the way over as well, so these are strategically placed so that they're the exact width each time for these 1x16s to sit on top of them. And then I think the plan was I was going to put plates on top, and then that will carry whatever I put on top of it, so it'll be the canal will be carried on top of that. Someone did suggest to me, one of my friends, why don't I just build all of this up in MDF or plywood, etc. But I kind of feel like I feel like it's a little bit like cheating. If I'm being fair, it'd be a lot easier and a lot cheaper. But at the same time, I like the fact that this is made from Lego. And when someone says to me, "Oh, how many bricks are in that?" I can say, well, it's roughly 3,000 or so at the moment. Probably a few more since I've beefed this up as well. And I'm keeping a tally of how much I've spent on this so far as well. And I think currently I'm probably at about £160 spent on it at the moment, with £50 of that being my Brick Festival voucher. So it's not too bad. So slowly over the next couple of months, I'll buy in parts and just work my way towards getting this one completed. I still have plenty of parts in my stores as well to kind of filter through and find bits I can from there, but it's just when I need so many of the same part repeated, you really want to find somewhere like on Bricklink where you can just get a huge number of them and buy them in a bit of bulk at that point. But sadly, that sometimes isn't always the option. So we'll see how far we can get with it at that point. And we'll just keep on slogging away at it. I guess, like I said, I'm hoping to have it for the next Plymouth Brick Festival, and then it will become a permanent part of my display. So if I can just get it to the point where the tunnels are made, the retaining walls are in, the hillside's made, that I would be happy to display, because the top is going to be a big thing, but I could just lay base plates on top, for example, as a stopgap whilst I get the rest of it finished. So that's the main goal, is to get that kind of frontage sorted out, and then be a case of finishing off. Even like the side here, if I could, it doesn't need to be perfect over here. I don't have to have that Minecraft scene in for the first iteration, but it'd be nice to try and get it done as well as part of that. So we'll see how that kind of develops, and I think that's pretty much all I've got that I can update you with currently. Oh, you may have seen there's been kind of looking about at the back here. I do now have 3 of my Great Western coaches built. I think I put progress of this on Instagram as well. So the trains look really good with those going behind it. In fact, you would have seen it in the Bude video if you've watched that as well. It looks fantastic with the train pulling it along. I had some issues with my county class at Bude, and I've made some alterations to that to see if it will run any better at Exeter, and I'll probably keep that for the separate video about the county class that I'm working on at the moment. But I think that's all that I have for you for this update. Again, like before, if you've enjoyed any of the content I'm putting out, please drop a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you for the next update where hopefully I'll have at least these tunnel portals finished, and we can start thinking about getting the sides of the embankment sorted. And until then, I'll see you next time.